Hello everyone, it's me the Gaming Pig. Happy 8-year anniversary to Five Nights at Freddy's on the 8th day of the 8th month of this year. What a coincidence, but anyways, today I'm doing something different than I normally do when I'm celebrating the Fnaf anniversaries, and I'm going to be ranking every single mainline Fnaf game that we have. I've never done this before on the channel, so this will be kind of fun, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to think in the comments down below. Remember, this list is not the right list by any means, it's just my personal opinion, so I'm just going to put that out there. Also, I will not be including any spin-offs, such as FNAF World, Freddy in Space, anything to that extent, and no fanverse games will be included on this list. So without further ado, we're going to start with number 10. And starting out very quickly with Fnaf Ar, a game that is just stuffed with microtransactions, dull gameplay, and no updates for over half a year. It's entertaining for a little bit, but it's nothing more. Plus, Olymix isn't backing this game anymore, so I don't really have much hope for it. There's nothing really to like anymore, and I don't play this game very much at all. Just a very straightforward mobile game that has been forgotten about by Olymix, and I don't see anything happening in the future for it, so I don't really like this game all that much. So that's why it's taking the number 10 spot. Going from a small mobile game to one of the biggest FNAF games in the series, we have FNAF Security Breach, a somewhat controversial take, but I just find this to be an unpolished game that to this day still have some wonky things about it. Couple that with bad writing, disastrous lore, and the lack of any scares at all, and this game is just a massive disappointment for me from start to finish. I'm clearly not the target audience for this game. I could go on, but let's continue to the next spot. Next up is Five Nights at Freddy's 4. To be clear, I think this is a pretty good game. It's a good game with good designs for the animatronics, and a unique concept with the whole house thing. However, the lore is just a messy disaster and very unsatisfying after FNAF 3. Plus, this is a game that has always been a bit too scary for me to really enjoy playing. But I guess that's just a good horror game doing its job. It's just personally not something that I enjoy, not for me. So let's move on to the next spot. Taking the number 7 spot is Five Nights at Freddy's 3, a game that a lot of fans are not really into, and I understand why. It's almost the opposite of Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The game has great lore, but it is one of the least scary games in the franchise besides Security Breach. However, the Springtrap design and character is really good and extremely important to the series, so you can't knock it for that. Plus the phantoms and all the unique gameplay elements make for a pretty enjoyable game, if not just a little bit on the not so scary side and not the most entertaining gameplay, but it's alright, it's not the worst game in the series. So let's move on to number 6. Moving on to number 6, which is FNAF 2, one of the most popular games in the series, and it's definitely one of the most iconic, with amazing character designs and unique gameplay for the time. However, the gameplay to me just gets super repetitive and very stress-inducing. It's too chaotic for me to have fun with the game after, the first 5 nights. So for me personally, it's not my favorite game. However, I love the character designs and new animatronics they added, as well as expanding upon the very basic lore that he put into Five Nights at Freddy's 1. So this isn't a bad game. Let's move on to number 5. Taking the 5 spot is FNAF Sister Location. It's a game that I really enjoyed at first, but over the years they have kind of started to like less and less. I've seen more problems with it. It's a story-driven game, which is very nice. It has a nice mix of humor, output with some very disturbing images. It would have been nice though to have something more for replay value, which I guess is where the custom night comes in, but within the actual game itself, would have been nice to have some more freedom, because it does kind of display itself as a free roam game, even though it's really not. Still, it is one of the most unique games in the series with really cool animatronics and some really good lore. I like this game quite a bit. Let's move on to number 4. Moving to the game that came after Sister Location, Five Nights at Freddy's 6, aka Pizzeria Simulator. It's a very well-rounded FNAF game. It's very unique, and at the same time feels like a classic FNAF game. The night sections aren't the best in my opinion, the gameplay isn't fun, but it is really scary, so I'll give it that. The salvage portion and the tycoon portion though are excellent. Not to mention the excellent lore. I mean, come on, that Henry speech at the end, if it wasn't destroyed by a security breach. And the abundant amount of characters. This is truly a great FNAF game. One of my all-time favorites. But it doesn't beat these next three, so let's move on to number 3. And coming in at number 3 is Five Nights at Freddy's, the original, an indie horror classic that changed the world of indie horror forever. With its unique, never-before-seen concept, eerie ambience, and genuine scares. Even after 8 years, this game still holds up. In retrospect, it is very simple in gameplay. We've seen games in the future that have much more complex gameplay. However, this game overall is an amazing game, and it inspired games that we know of now, such as Poppy Playtime. So there's a lot of history to this game, and it's a very important game to indie horror, and it's just an overall fantastic FNAF game. However nostalgic I am, there are still 2 games that I think are better than this one, so let's move on to number 2. Coming in at number 2 with a somewhat controversial pick for second place is Ultimate Custom Night. Ultimate Custom Night is one of my favorite FNAF games, but for very different reasons than the others on the top of this list. The insane cast of characters chosen for the roster is really impressive for a Click Team game. 50 characters, I mean that's ridiculous. The strategy needed to play this game and understand it is something that I really fell in love with. None of the other games really have something quite like that. All the voice acting in this game is also just so impressive. It isn't about being a scary game, and it knows that. It's so unique, and you can tell that Scott put a lot of passion into this game, and I just feel like this is the quintessential FNAF game for Scott Cawthon's era. I love this game, and let's move on to the number 1 spot. To no one's surprise, coming in at number 1 is Fnaf VR Help Wanted. This is peak FNAF. I love this game, and I always have, and I always will. But to be clear, my favorite version of this game is the VR version. It combines everything that I love about FNAF into one game. Great, genuine scares, especially in the VR mode. Some really good humor, and interesting lore, and a great variety of game modes to choose from. The recreations from the past games are well done, not to mention the amazing original modes created by Steelwool just for this game. Plus, the Curse of Dreadbear DLC is just so well done. It's amazing. And on top of all that, it's in VR, making for a really scary experience. This is my go-to FNAF game. This is easily the best FNAF game in the franchise, in my personal opinion. It's the most well-made one out there, and it combines everything that I personally like about FNAF into one game. So this comes in at number 1. That's my list for the 10 main FNAF games. Let me know what you guys thought about this. Be sure to comment your ranking in the comments section down below. Happy 8th anniversary to Five Nights at Freddy's. All week I will be doing Five Nights at Freddy's content, and tomorrow I will be doing a video on the Fanverse merchandise, which is getting revealed today, so look forward to that. And yeah, so until next time, thank you guys for watching. Happy 8th anniversary to Five Nights at Freddy's, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye.